started as I let these last couple of people in. But I appreciate y'all being here. Marco says he's ready, so am I. So we'll go ahead and get started. This presentation is going to be on how to write a business plan. Now, the way that I do a business plan is going to be a little bit different than how you have seen a business plan done in the past. The reason I do it differently is because, number one, I'm going to respect the reader's time. I'm not going to duplicate a ton of entries, because if you read the traditional business plan, it will answer the same information in different sections 3 or 4 different times. And all that does is just waste the reader's time, and I'm not going to do that. I'm going to show you how to build the business plan financials from the ground up, and we're not going to pluck numbers out of thin air. We're going to make the numbers make sense. So we're going to just jump right into it. And if you guys hear me pause for a second, it's because I'm trying to let people in as I go, and I do apologize for that. Why do you need a business plan? I deal with people every single day. Today I've talked to about 8 different people, and also had a business meeting early this morning as well. So my voice is probably going to be a little raspy. But people that I do talk to every day are asking me, do I really need a business plan? And the answer is yes, you absolutely do need a business plan. You want to think of the business plan as being basically your roadmap. And just like I talk about here, the business plan summarizes the who, what, when, where, why, and how of your food truck. It answers all of those questions, and it's something you're going to be looking at from time to time in the future. In all of the business plans I've written since the early 80s, we revisit them every 6 months to see how we're doing compared to what we thought we'd be doing, and then tweak them for the next 6 months coming up. You're always going to be able to do that. The farther in advance you try to throw a business plan into the future, the more off it's going to be. And that's because we can't predict everything. No matter how good we think we are, we simply cannot do it. Now, when we go to the financial part of the business plan, I will set it up for 3 years. But I'll explain to you why I'm coming up with the numbers I'm coming up with. And one thing I want to stress, and that's why it's in red, do not have a service do your business plan. This is your business plan. You know your area, you know your menu, you know the kind of people that you're going to be dealing with more intimately than anybody that's going to be on Fiverr that's going to try to write one for you, because what they're going to do is pull random information. They're going to throw it into a business plan because their goal is not to make the business plan viable financially. They want to write a nice narrative so you'll pay them money. That doesn't do you any good. So write your own business plan, because according to the SBA, the Small Business Administration, there's no right or wrong way to do a business plan. What's important is that the business plan meets your needs. So we don't care if it's written with perfect prose and it reads all the flowery information. We want it to benefit your business. Now, everything that I do as far as the Excel spreadsheets you're going to see here in just a minute, they are written in Excel, and I strongly recommend you use the subscription version of Excel. That is the most up-to-date version out there. Because if you use numbers or you use Google Sheets, it breaks some of the functionality, and then the sheets won't work the way they're intended. And you end up with really weird numbers, or you end up with things that simply don't work at all. So the 3 things we're going to talk about as far as spreadsheets, hopefully you guys have already done a food cost. I have one that's specific to food trucks, and it's a very intensive spreadsheet, but it will help you control your food cost. But you need to know what your food cost goal is, and then you need to hit that goal. So hopefully you know that number. That's part of the business plan. We got to know what the food cost goal is. The other thing we need to know is a break-even point. You can't figure your break-even point until you know what your food cost goal is. You can't do a food cost goal until you know how much each individual product is going to cost you, and every ingredient, what its cost is, and then put that into a menu price. So we did a break-even analysis seminar about a month or so ago, and I left off some of the information because we're going to pick up on that information right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop sharing the screen for a second, and I'm going to bring up the break-even analysis at the point that I stopped in the last video. And while this is loading, the break-even analysis, again, that's the point where you have paid all the bills. You can also include a modest salary for yourself. So that's all the break-even point is. You have paid everything. And where is it? Right there. All right. Let me let these last couple of folks in and we will continue on. All right, the break-even analysis. And I have the wrong sheet up. I was jumping the gun a little bit. Also, while I'm getting this sheet up, you guys can, if you have any questions, just go ahead and write them in the chat, and I promise I will get to them either in real time or I'll get to them at the end of the presentation. And I will stay here and answer questions as long as you guys are asking them. All right, so when we left off with the break-even sheet, we talked about the sales goal, and this pays all the bills for this particular individual. So the sales goal here is $600 a day and roughly 10 guests per hour that this food truck is going to be open. So with that, keeping those two numbers in mind, the $600 in daily sales, the 10 people per hour. We go to the service goal. The service goal sheet helps you to understand your speed of service. So with 10 people per hour, that hits our break-even point. What this sheet is now telling you, you'll end up making about 7 cents over the course of a year. The reason it's doing that is because of rounding. But what this also tells you is this number right here, 360 seconds per order. So it would be one order every 6 minutes. Now we know that we can go faster than that. We can go up to one order every minute. If we have multiple cashiers, we could go even faster than that. So what we're going to do is say we can do 50% better. So we can do 15 people an hour. And what that does is it means if we can consistently bring in 15 people an hour, we will profit $33,204.27 if we hit all of our expenses the way we have them projected. This gives you now a basis to know what your goal is going to be. If you guys are really experienced, you can go to 20 people an hour and then use that as your basis goal. So every single day that you go out and operate, this becomes your monetary goal that you want to hit. I'm just going to keep it at 15 for the sake of our demonstration. Okay, then there's a couple other sheets that I'm going to come back to a little bit later to finish filling out. So we need these numbers to start on the next spreadsheet. And I'm going to bring that spreadsheet up. That was the one that I brought up inadvertently a second ago. Give you all that sneak peek. Okay, and I'm going to let in a couple other folks. And then we'll go ahead and jump right in. Okay, so this is the business plan builder. This will be a download that'll be available to you guys in the file section of the Facebook group. And this is going to help you fill out a lot of the financials. The crux of the spreadsheet is this information here. I've already pre-filled out a couple of things. And those things are the average ticket. For my example, we're going to say that every human being that comes up to the food truck, we're hoping to get $12 out of them. That's an average. So a $12 per person ticket average. We are going to open July 1st of 2023. This is important because this spreadsheet actually looks at the calendar, the real calendar, and will determine the number of different days that you would have for the remainder of the year. You want to put your open time. For this example, we're going to open at 11 o'clock in the morning. Next thing we're going to fill out is that guest count. Now you remember on the sheet that I just showed you, we had 15 guests per hour. This example, we're going to be open 5 hours. That's a total of 75 people a day. Now you see this little red thing came up and said, hey, the guest counts don't match. The reason this is in red is because we have no guest count over here. We have 0. So I will be filling in this section in a second. And when I hit 75, that will go away. We're going to leave these 2 blanks right now. This is a projected sales increase from year 1 to year 2, and then year 2 to year 3. And I'll explain how to fill those out in just a minute. This area here is where you put your days you're going to be open for business. Now, why this is important is because the sheet will readjust. Let's say we decide we're going to be open on Wednesdays as well. And you can see the total number of days up here changed to 261. So the spreadsheet is looking at the calendar starting in July of this year, and it's going till July of next year, and it's counting the number of Wednesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, Saturday, and Sunday. So that way we can have an accurate number of each of those days. But for the example, I'm going to say we're only open these 4 days. So that means there are 209 potential days to work based on the calendar. We all know we're not hitting 209. So that's one of the things we're going to fill out down here. So let's go through and do the base day hour per hour to hit 75. We open at 11. We know from 11 to 12, we're probably going to do more than 15 people, but not many more. So we'll say we'll do 20. The busiest lunch hour typically in most areas is going to be between 12 and 1. So we'll say we're going to do 25. And we'll drop back down to 20, 15, and then one more we need. How many am I at? How many am I at? 95. I've gone over. That's why it still reads red. So we're going to say 10, and 10 gives me 85. What this does for you is it makes you think out how the business should flow. So if you're sitting on your truck and you expect 20 people from 11 to 12 and you don't get 20 people, you need to be on social media. You need to be outside getting some people to come into your food trailer area. You need to draw attention to yourself. You can't sit there and wait and cross your fingers and hope that the next hour is going to make up for it. You need to assume that that trend is going to continue, and you need to be on social media, out waving a sign, giving out samples, doing something to get people to come to your trailer. Do not sit and wait and hope that the next hour is going to be better. Get aggressive and get out there. So we have 75 total guests on our projection. We have 75 people for the break-even point. Now, a little red warning went away. Next thing we're going to work on is weather closures. We know for sure we're going to be closed. Since I live in Florida, I know 100% without a doubt, sometime between June and September, we're going to have either a hurricane, we're going to have a direct hit, we're going to have a brush hit, we're going to have a warning. We're going to have something that's going to cause us to be closed. It's going to happen one of those months. So we'll just assume it's going to be July. One of the restaurants I opened many, many years ago, first week we opened, hurricane. So we're going to say we're going to miss 3 days in July for sure. August, we're going to say we'll miss 2 between the weather, rain, wind, whatever. September here, it cools off a lot, gets actually very pleasant. We'll say we may only miss 3 days. October is always a heavy hurricane month. We'll say we're going to miss 4. Then we get November and December. We have very little weather problems, but we'll say we're going to have some. We'll miss a bunch of days in January, let's say, because it gets downright cold here. We'll miss a bunch of February. March, we start to get good weather. April's really good. May's really good. June, we'll miss a couple. So what we're saying is we have a potential of losing 33 days to weather. You guys can look at your past weather history to know if you're going to potentially miss days. I would rather understate my projections and know I can hit it than to hope I can hit some big number I've just pulled out of thin air. So you see the sheet adjusted up here. It says I will be open 176 days out of a potential of 209. And we can make adjustments here if we need to. Now we're going to get into what I refer to as a seasonal multiplier. What that represents is not spring or summer or winter. What it represents is how the weather and the seasons in general impact the customer flow, the guest flow. So for example, July in my area is guaranteed going to be 3 times busier than any other month that we have. So I'm going to put a 3 times multiplier. I have records going back to 1996 that show that consistently. July is 3 times busier than any other month. Typically, our base month is October. October is where we normally settle out. So July has that 3 times busier than October. And then we also see the same thing, believe it or not, in May. Because what happens to us in May is we are in between seasons. We are missing spring break season because it's already over. All the kids are back from college, but we haven't got into the family vacation season, which starts in June. So May, even though we have great weather, we aren't real busy. So typically it's a base. It's a one-time multiplier. Every once in a while it might creep up. So now we'll go through the rest of the months in order. Starting with August. August for me is typically about 1.5 times. September is about 1.5 times. November is a little bit less busy. December is a little bit less. January is a lot less. February, we start getting busier because some of the very northern colleges do start spring break about mid-February, and they come to the beach. March and April are very, very big months. We typically are doing about double our normal sales. And then June is about 1.5 times because not all the families head out for their vacation in June. So what this is now doing is refiguring my sales based on these impacts of the seasons, of the vacation seasons. The same thing applies up north. When I had my businesses in Kentucky, Ohio, and West Virginia, summertime was really, really dead because everybody that lived up there came south for their vacations because we didn't have, or I didn't live in an area that was a vacation destination. So now the sheet has given me my potential sales. Now you notice that 2024 and 2025 are identical because we haven't projected an increase. We're going to do that here in just a couple of minutes. And I'll show you how to figure that. As you see, this sheet also starts to populate the things that bankers really love, and that is being able to see graphs. All right, so we're going to skip to the next tab, which is startup funds. So you would just put in dollar amounts here. How much inventory do you need to start with? How much non-food inventory? How much money do you spend on licenses and insurance and all of these things, which would be coming off of your break-even point. You would have figured these out already and know what those numbers are. So you'd fill all those out. And then this area right here just starts to summarize it. So if you tell a sheet you're going to get, let's say $900 worth of food, the sheet adds it all up for you and it gives you a grand total. Then these things will be copy and pasted into your business plan. The market analysis, another thing that will be copy and pasted into your business plan. Just like the instructions say here, you can get this kind of information from your Chamber of Commerce. If you have an economic development center or an economic development council in your area, your realtors probably know it. Certainly the city or county office would be able to give you this kind of information. And you can change up what the guest type is. It depends on what kind of area you're in. But you certainly want your food to match the kind of people that are the predominant population. So if you have a lot of families, you may skew your menu slightly differently than if you had a lot of blue collar workers. In my area, we have a lot of military bases. We actually have 2. I sit in between 2 different military bases. And because of that, we technically have a lot of blue collar workers. That's what you would consider the enlisted in the Air Force, even though they all have A lot of them will have college degrees and so forth. They're still working at that level where they have to go in, punch a clock and that kind of thing. You have business professionals, you're talking about lawyers or real estate agents or somebody who's working in an air-conditioned office all day long. So again, you want to skew your menu to whatever the predominant population is in your area. Then you're also going to look at the competitors. Now, I don't get hung up on who's the busiest or most popular food truck, but what I do want to know is who's getting the most attention on their social media. So that's what you're going to be looking at here. Just list the different trucks and then just browse their social media, see how many followers they have, see what kind of engagement they have, making sure that you're just keeping a track of them, keeping a count of it, and then compare one truck to another. Because like I said, it doesn't matter who's busiest, because a taco truck may be selling $2 tacos all day long, but they ain't making no money. We don't want to compete with people that aren't making any money. What we want to compete with is people who have lots of followers, because they have lots of followers. We need to get some of those followers to come check us out. And then we need to impress them like I always talk about. And then one of the things you want to do is go visit who you think are the top trucks. Check them out and check them out in a responsible way, not just automatically puffing your chest out and going, I am the best. You want to go out and prove it. You know, what are they doing this better than you? Because I guarantee you every food truck does something a little bit better than you're doing it. Doesn't mean it's going to increase their sales, but they're doing something differently and probably better than you are. Then we have a balance sheet. If you've been open more than a year and want to do a business plan, this will make a lot of sense to fill out. Since we're talking about starting one from scratch, we won't talk about a balance sheet. All right, so we're going to be here for just a second. I'm going to switch screens one more time. And we're going to go to this screen. This is where we were a couple of minutes ago. This is the break-even point. We're going to go to the tab marked projected sales. As soon as I can get this to move. There we go. Everything that's in yellow, and I forgot to mention this, the way I set up my spreadsheets is anything that's in yellow is for you to put your own input. If it's not in yellow, don't mess with it because there's mathematical formulas built into it. All right, so year one, we need to look at the business planner sheet. And it had us doing $232,200. So we're going to plug that in. And now you see the sheet just now fills in all the information. This was done originally on the break-even sheet. And things that we had done in the previous video. So now we have year one, year two, and year three all being identical. So now we got to think ahead, put on our thinking caps and go. There's going to be sales growth. It's automatic from year one to year two, you will grow sales unless you're one of those folks that are just completely messing up your business and then you're going to close in year two. You should automatically grow sales. And why I say it's automatic is because you should be getting better at understanding your business trends and the business flow. So it may be rocky the first couple of months, but I promise you later on, it will get better, more smoother, and you'll increase your sales. So year two should have an automatic increase. So we're going to say it's automatically going to have an 8% increase. Now we got to think about expenses because you see this also populates more graphs that the banker wants to see. We got to think about what inflation is going to do to our expenses. Currently, inflation is running about 6% right now. So we'll just say it's going to carry through the rest of the year at 6%. Now we got to make a decision. Are we going to eat that 6% inflationary costs, or are we going to raise our menu prices? A prudent business person would at least make that same 6% increase. And yes, I know guests are going to push back and say, well, your price is going up. The same reason they go up at the grocery store. The sad thing is they don't get to yell at the producers in the grocery store, but since we're making their food, they get to yell at us, and that's okay. We're in business to make money. We're not in business to make make friends and make people, be a soup kitchen. We are here to make money. So we'll assume we're going to raise prices to compensate for inflation, and that will balance out our, it'll balance out the graph. Then we're going to look at the third year. Third year is going to be not as good on growth because now you're wrapped around you being awesome. You're going to hold another year. You've seen the sales trends, but you're probably not going to naturally increase sales. You should still continue to increase, but it won't be as easy as it was the second year. So we'll say you're only going to do a 4% increase. Then let's say that the government finally gets their act together and gets inflation, cuts it in half, and we decide that we're going to do a menu increase just to keep up with inflation. And now we have more stable profit growth, we have more stable expense growth, we have more stable sales growth. All of these will be copied and pasted into your official business plan. And if the banker's wanting to see a breakdown by line item, you can copy and paste this as well. Typically, what people do when they set up a business plan is they just pluck a number out of thin air and then make all this stuff down here work. It's not how we do it. We built all of this, we built up. So if you watch the break-even point video, we built all this information up. We didn't pluck any numbers out of thin air. We based it on reality. All right, so we need these two numbers right here to be transferred over to our spreadsheet. So I'm going to do that kind of behind the scenes for a second. So we have a 14% increase and a 7% increase. All right, so now I'm going to share that screen with you guys. Just to show you what it looks like. All right, so I put in the 14% and the 7%, and now we have sales figures for the next 3 years. And then you have the revenue bar graph as well. And you can certainly change these if you know how Excel works. You can change the bar graphs into pie chart or a line graph, however you want. But now that we have this, we're going to get to the part that everybody hates. That's all your numbers. And I know I'm jumping through this quickly, and you'll be able to watch the video. And you can pause it and look at it and study it a little bit more carefully. But I'm going to share one more screen jump here. Yeah, this is where we were. It'll load here. There we go. This is where we were. We talked about the food cost control, which is available in the file section, the break-even analysis, which is also in the file section, and there is the associated video with that. It's on the YouTube channel. And I believe there is a video on this as well on the YouTube channel. We're going to go to the next slide. We just talked about the business plan builder. That was the one that I was doing where we built out our seasonality and our closing and weather impacts. So we're going to get to the part now that everybody dreads, and that's actual writing the business plan. Business plan has two sections. One's the narrative that you have to talk about yourself and talk about the business. And then the other part is all the financial stuff. And you can see in this example I have down here, all those graphs, all they are is copied and pasted into our business plan. So let's talk about a lean business plan. Typically, a lean business plan will have 6 to 8 pages max, compared to a full-fledged business plan, which will have around 40 to 50 pages. The only difference, and honestly, the only difference is we're not going to repeat ourselves 4 or 5 times. And we're not going to give lengthy explanations when we don't need to waste the reader's time. So writing the narrative, you're going to write 2 to 3 brief sentences for each main bullet point or a short summary. You're going to ensure that you can support all the information provided in your business plan. That's where all those spreadsheets come into play. If somebody says, as they're reading through your business plan, well, how'd you get this graph? You can share that spreadsheet with them. You can show them how we built it step by step, and they'll appreciate the explanation. Since a lean business plan omits a lot of the repetitive details, you have to make sure that you can support your market research and any other documentation in case they ask you questions. So ideally, you're going to be in a face-to-face conversation with someone that is going to be either approving a loan or approving something to do with your business plan. And if they have a question, you need to be able to answer that question. Now, that bottom line here is the one that's really important. Your passion for your business paired with your conviction is going to win that meeting. You can go in with a 6-page business plan and be passionate about it, and you're going to win that loan. You're going to get that loan approval. If you go in and you sound bored and not really sure about your numbers, they are not going to approve you. Even if your numbers are perfect, they're not going to approve it because you don't sound like you can make that happen. You got to be excited about what you're doing. So here are the elements. We're going to go through them step by step. The introduction section, you want to have your logo, you want to have the business address, and then you want to have your mission statement. The mission statement, what it does is it encapsulates what your business is all about in just a few sentences. So there in yellow at the bottom, this is one that I did for the hot dog cart and the food trailer that I had. The Pirates Galley will be a unique and positively memorable food vending experience bound by the moral, legal, and ethical standards of our industry, ensuring we deliver high quality and delicious food served by a fast and friendly staff in a sparkling, clean, and sanitary environment. We will support our local community through ongoing charitable donations and volunteer work. So it sounds really lofty, but when you break it down, we were memorable because we dressed in pirate stuff. You know, we wore the hats, we wore the bandanas, we looked like pirates, and for the most part, we tried to talk like pirates when we were addressing especially children. I'm in an area where they do an annual pirate festival every year. So it made sense for me just to carry this out the whole year long. We actually, if you go to Destin, you can get on a pirate ship and cruise around the coastline. We're all about pirates here. So that makes us memorable. The children would bring their parents, Daddy, let's go see that. Usually they'd say crazy guy that's in the pirate outfit, because it would be blistering hot and there I'd be in long sleeves and long pants. Ensuring that we deliver high quality and delicious food. That should go without saying, but you have to be committed to that. You cannot look at something, well, I can't afford that. We'll get the cheaper cut. We'll get the less expensive product. High quality, people recognize that. So don't skimp on your quality. Fast and friendly. People want fast, people want friendly. I don't care how many people say that people wait on good food. They will wait one time because you're holding their money for ransom. It's not like they're going to walk away once you take their order. They will sit and wait. They might even tell you, hey, your food's awesome, but they ain't coming back. And they're certainly not coming back frequently because they won't always have the time to waste. So get fast, and then make sure your staff is friendly. Sparkling clean should go without saying, but you want to maintain that all throughout the day. Support your local community. Be a part of the civic community. Don't be a leech. All right, the next section, the team and organization. A lot of people have a hard time blowing their own horn. Well, I'm giving you permission to brag about everything that you have done in your business life and what you're going to do on your food truck or food trailer. So just give a little short bio. Talk about the good things you've done in your life. Again, we're only talking about 4 to 5 sentences max. Include yourself, including your partners, include your key staff. Talk about the company background. How'd you come up with the idea? Where'd you come up with the idea for the menu and the recipes that are within the menu? Talk about things that people want to know about. If you're using grandma's recipes, then talk about grandma. Give them a reason to feel attached to your business. That's the company background. Talk about your business structure. Are you a sole proprietorship? Are you an LLC? Are you a C Corp, an S Corp? Are you a partnership? Talk about the business structure and then the organization within that structure. If you and your wife are the owners, who's in charge? Because somebody's got to be in charge. It could be the wife, it could be the husband, it doesn't matter, but somebody has to be in charge that the other people report to. Someone's got to make the decisions. Talk about any funding that you need and how you're going to spend it. If you need a $100,000 loan to be able to buy equipment, you need to say how much the equipment costs, how much you're going to spend on inventory, how much you're going to spend on each individual line item. That's why we did that on that one sheet I shared earlier. Then you're going to talk about the problem and the solution. What problem do your guests face? Are there not enough taco trucks? Are there not enough barbecue trucks? Is there no barbecue truck in this particular area of town where you're going to be setting up? Is there no Greek food at all in your town? Is there just a lack of good food in an industrial area? What problem do your guests have? For example, in my area where we have one of the highest concentrations of restaurants compared to full-time residents in the entire United States, because we have such an inflow of tourists. So we have lots and lots of restaurants. So you would think there would be no shortage of food choices for people. But in reality, the farther you get away from the beach, the more sparse the restaurant choices become. So there's always a problem that guests face. You just got to figure out where that problem is and then how you're going to solve it. And then that's where you talk about how are you going to solve it? I'm going to set up in this industrial park where there are no restaurants within 2 miles. I'm going to set up 5 days a week. I'm going to serve Greek food in an area that doesn't have Greek food. We only have 2 taco trucks, and I think there's room for a 3rd taco truck. That's what you're going to talk about, and that's what you're going to put in on your narrative, on your business plan. Then you're going to talk about your menu products. If you have any online menus, you want to link those so people can peruse that while they're looking at your business plan. You also want to include pictures of your main products. So if you're a burger truck and you got 29 different burgers, number one, thin your menu down. But if you do have a lot of different products, just put the 1 or 2 popular ones, the ones you want to be popular, and do it across the different lines. You may have a couple of main products, a couple of side items, a couple of desserts. Explain how your menu is superior to the competition. Remember, I asked you to go out and check out the competition. So you have an idea of how your menu is going to be more popular. So you want to talk about how yours is better. I use fresh ingredients from a local butcher. I use fresh baked bread from a local bakery. We use local farms to do our produce. We have it imported from Mexico. We're getting a certain meat from Mexico. We bring in something that makes you different. That's how you're superior. Marketing, talk about your marketing plan. You've got to have a marketing plan, and marketing includes social media, but is not only social media. So you're going to talk about 2 or 3 or 4 main marketing activities you're going to do on a consistent basis to bring people into your food truck or food trailer. You're also going to talk about your social media reach currently. So if you're just starting out and you've only got 10 followers, you're going to talk about that. But then you're also going to establish the goal of by the end of the first quarter, we're going to have 100 people. By the end of the second quarter, we're going to have 150. So you're going to have those goals in there, and you talk about how you're going to achieve those goals. You're always thinking about how to improve your business. And then you got to just put it on a piece of paper or your business plan. You're going to talk about the competition. You want to list the direct competitors, especially if they're going to be setting up near you. Explain how you are better. And then again, get a feel from their social media and from real-time observations, who is the leader in your area. And then do a strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threat analysis, or a quick shop of each competitor. I'm going to show you the quick shop here really quickly. The reason I want you to know about the competition, this is a quote from Sun Tzu. If you know the competition and you know your own ability, you will win 100 times out of 100. If you're ignorant of the competition, but you know your own ability, you're going to lose as many as you win. So you're 50-50. If you're ignorant of the competition and also ignorant of your own abilities, you're going to always lose. So competition, knowing who they are, knowing what they do well and what they don't do so well, gives you a leg up. And the only way you can know that is to be checking them out. And yes, I checked out everybody. Melissa and I were always out checking out the competition. We always wanted to know what they were doing and what they weren't doing. We still do it to this day. This is a quick shop. This is available in our file section. You can go through it and it's pretty self-explanatory. You're just going to be looking at certain things that are very, very important, how a food truck operates, and you're going to score them. You can also use this as a checklist for yourself to make sure that you're operating as efficiently as you should be. Financial projections, we've been talking about those, the main part of the spreadsheets. That's what the financial projections are, just copy and paste from those spreadsheets. Put in all the graphs, put in all the information the bankers like to see. And then here's how it should look as it's laid out. These have all the different sections, your logo information, your mission statement, your team and organization, the problem you're solving, your products, your social media and your marketing tactics and your social media reach and how you're going to improve those. You're going to talk about your marketing and what you're going to do to get more guests from your target market. Then you're going to talk about the competition. You're going to summarize what they did well, what they don't do well, and you're going to explain how you are better. Then we got the different sections for the graphs. So your to-do list is write your business plan. If you have not written one, get started. And yes, it's intimidating. But you know what? You can't write a business plan unless you just sit down and start to do it. And if it takes you several hours, it takes you several hours. If you need help, you got 30,000 people, 35,000 people on our Facebook group that are willing to help. You can certainly ask me. People ask me questions all day long. You can get on the free call that I have and we can talk about your business plan. The link for the free call is in the guide section and it's also in the featured section. I definitely don't try to hide from you guys. All right, we're going to go into question and answers and I will be here